after a long trek through Route 225, we are almost at the survival area. Now, oh hi, ambush! Sorry, but as I was about to say, the survival area has changed a lot since Diamond and Pearl. In Diamond and Pearl, it was basically nothing but a pit stop on the way to Stark Mountain. However, in Platinum, they added quite a few things there. First and foremost, there's the battleground that opens once you've either caught or defeated Heatran. What the battleground does is that it's basically where the gym leader rematches take place, and you can also fight the stat trainers there for a total of 13 potential fights. Now, 4 of those fights are chosen each day, and you can fight them 4 out of those 13. So basically, it works a lot like the restaurant at Lake Valor. The thing about the battleground is that, as far as this LP goes, I am not planning on doing it right away when I unlock it. Rather, I'm going to keep it for near the end of this LP. I'm planning on doing it right before the Elite Four rematches, in fact, so that we can get sort of a little endgame crescendo going here, just to, sort of give a show at the end of the LP. Okay, Dawnstone, which evolves male Kirlias into Gallade and female Snowruns into Frostlass. I hope I got that one right, because last time I screwed up when I tried to explain what the Laxin sense does. It helps breed, why not Munchlax, as I said in the last video. But as far as... What? Submission works even when I'm in the air? I honestly did not know that, because, let's face it, I never used submission once in my entire life. Just look at the move stats. 80 power, 85 accuracy, right there, right then and there, that is complete horseshit unless there's some sort of really awesome positive effect. But no positive effect. Instead, we got recoil, so no wonder I didn't know about that. Anyway, here's the survival area, and yeah, members only, this is the battleground, alright, that I was talking about. In the survival area, another thing that was added in Platinum is that, in Diamond and Pearl, the final fight against Barry, which you could only do on weekends, but you could do it once every day during weekends, it's been moved to the survival area in Platinum. No, I don't want to talk to you again. Sorry about that. But yeah, once again, this is something that I'm going to keep for the very end of this LP, alongside the battleground. Now that fight against Barry, his Pokemon actually go up by 10 levels once you've beaten the Elite Four. I think it's 10 times, and they go up by 20 levels when you beat the Elite Four 20 times. I'm not going to be covering that because I don't want to do unending Elite Four runs just to show Barry's final lineup. Just know that it's there, and his Pokemon can reach level 84, in fact. So, yeah, nothing unusual in stock in this particular Pokemon. It was on a 54 win streak. Well, I wouldn't complain about a 54 win streak, because even getting to the second Palmer battle is sort of hard, because the difficulty will have peaked a long time ago, and if I admittedly haven't spent much time in the battle tower, but I've never done a 54 win streak, unfortunately. So, okay, that's there, so I guess I'm gonna have to go down there, but how do I get back? Oh well, I'll find a way when I get there, because obviously they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't put a point of no return where I literally couldn't return. And speaking of points of no return, I don't think there's ever been an actual point of no return ever since Red, Blue, and Yellow. Well, putting aside Fire and Leaf Green, of course. Okay. I'm going to come back to that later because he's talking about Facade here. Well, yeah, I'm going to take it. There wasn't even a choice of yes, no. You want it? Here, take it. I know you don't want it, but take it anyway. But yeah, Facade has 70 power, but it increases to 140 when your Pokemon has a status. There's just one problem though. It's a normal move, meaning it will rarely ever get used unless it's something like a Guts Ursaring. And the last thing that's been added to the survival area in Platinum is the place where I'm going to right now. It's the move tutor, which is up this cliff. You need to use a rock climb on the first slope on Route 226 in order to be able to reach it. So yes, I'm actually going to teach Heat Wave to Zapdos, as I said I would a few videos ago. Let's go Heat Wave. I should have, yeah, I have the shards, alright. So I'm gonna get rid of Light Screen. Didn't use it once, but oh well, better than something like, well, I don't know what was there before, I don't really remember, nor do I care. But Heat Wave, yeah, it's sort of weird that in Platinum, every single, well, not every single flying type, but almost every single flying type got Heat Wave, including Zapdos, which is sort of odd considering we already had a Fire Legendary Bird, and yet, oh hey, graphical distortions. I honestly don't know what causes these, but they usually go away when there's a field change of sorts, like that. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. But as I was about to say, it's funny how Zapdos actually does fire attacks better than Moltres can, just because Zapdos has better typing and a better stat spread. Heat Wave was a godsend to Zapdos because it allowed it to use a hidden power with another type, granting it extra type coverage instead of, having just Thunderbolt hidden power, and that was about it. But what I was about to say about points of no return is that the only one that's ever been in the Pokemon series was in Red, Blue, Yellow, Fire Red, and Leaf Green. Remember that ledge on Route 4 right before Cerulean, that if you jump off, you can't return to previous areas until you first get the Cut HM, earn the right to use it, and then go through Diglett's Cave to emerge near Pewter City. So, yeah, they haven't done that ever since, and I'm sort of glad that they did, because I like sometimes, going back to previous areas without being restricted on how you actually get them, because back in those games, it was like, did I get everything that I have to get? Because after that, I can't come back for quite a long time, so better do everything while I still can. So yeah, I'm really glad that they haven't pulled this crap off ever since the originals. And moving on to something else, I was ranting about the Dream World in the last video, and there were a few things that I forgot to mention because, well, I completely forgot to talk about them. So I'm gonna make amends for it and talk about it right now. You know what's really bullshit about the Dream World? It's that, they say that you can only spend an hour per day here. But that's not exactly an hour per day in the purest sense of the term. Instead, how it works is that if you log in one day at 7 p.m. and you play until 8 p.m., well, the next day, you can't just spend 1 hour whenever you feel like it the next day. No, you have to wait until 7 p.m. So, yeah, it would have been so much better had you just had the choice of when you want to go on the Dream World every day instead of being at the mercy of when you actually went on the Dream World the day before. And what's even more freaking bullshit is that, for example, keeping up with my example of logging in at 7 p.m. Let's say you want to stop at 7:45, for example, and you turn off the Dream World, temporarily, of course. You say, I'm going to come back later, and you come back at 8:15, for example. Well, you can't, because the time still keeps ticking even when you're away from the Dream World. So as soon as you log in at 7 p.m., you only have until 8 p.m. to do whatever you want to do in the Dream World. You cannot leave and say, I'll come back later, because that's how it works. You have 1 hour and not a second more, no matter how many times you go off and at which time. And that is absolute bullshit. And yeah, another mid-air submission. It's not that I didn't see it coming this time, now that I know about it, of course, but using Fly is the best course of action on this thing, even if it means taking some damage in the process. And by the way, those among you who tried their hand at the post-game of Black and White, well, isn't it just the hardest freaking thing ever? I'm especially talking about the Nimbasa Stadium, since it's the best place to level up outside of killing Audinos in the new areas that open up after beating Enengetsis. But yeah, the levels are just outrageous, because in the main game, the highest thing you face is a level 54 Hydreigon. But afterwards, everything you meet from Pokemon that belong to trainers, at least, they're all in the mid-60s. So first you gotta do a lot of grinding on Audinos and those new parts you unlock. But even then, even when your levels are even with the opponents, it's gonna happen quite often that you're gonna get your ass kicked an unusual amount of times by in-game standards, because the Pokemon that you're going to be facing are often Pokemon that are built for, being AI Pokemon, that is, that can kick your ass as quickly as possible with, like, for example, drawback moves. Seen a lot of hammer arms, close combat, superpowers, that kind of stuff. Those kind of Pokemon aren't meant for competitive battling, by the way. The sets, I mean, not the Pokemon themselves necessarily. But still, they are meant to deal as much damage to you as possible before they eventually go down, which is way more than you'd usually expect from these AIs. And I have been struggling quite a lot in that. In fact, I would say I am really, really, really lucky not to be recording this. Else, I think I would lose all of my awesome Pokemon street cred right then and there. So basically, the post-game is what I've always wanted a Pokemon game to see, with a lot of challenge, even for seasoned veterans. So, at least, I'm glad that they finally went and did that, even though you're required to do a lot of grinding to be even on par with their levels. But it doesn't really matter anyway, because they actually had the courtesy to give us Audinos to grind on. And by the way, just to give you an example of how Generation 5 has completely taken over my mind, when I saw that Xatu right there, the first thing I thought was, holy crap, Magic Bounce! Even though it didn't have Magic Bounce in Generation 4. Well, it is to be expected, because the only reason why anyone would ever want to use Xatu is Magic Bounce, and ever since it was introduced in Generation 2, before Generation 5, it was completely worthless anyway at all times. And, I had to go through the other one to get to that item. Sorry about that. So, I guess I'm gonna go grab that item, and, you know what? I'm gonna stop there after getting that item, because I don't think if I have to fly in the air or switch to Cresselia to kill something, I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to do it. And yes, I'm still bound by the 15-minute time limit for some reason. So, whatever. Let's head down there and wrap this off for today and continue this next time.